Hey. Hi, guys. Welcome on in. Looks like everybody's coming in pretty fast here. That's great. People are usually pretty punctual here.
I think we've got a pretty good turnout today for this one, Jacob.
Yeah, for sure.
Seems like there's a little bit of interest here.
For sure. They were fast to join. We're gonna give everybody maybe at this rate, maybe a minute, maybe another minute, and let some stragglers get in and we'll get going here.
It's good to shake it up once in a while and do something that's not quite the Microsoft stuff that is sort of our mainstream.
Exactly.
A little bit different with today's topic.
And a popular one nonetheless. Okay. All right, so we've got a decent amount of people. Why don't we just get started here? Looks like we might have another one or two stragglers, but we'll get going. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming today. My name is Jacob Heath. I'm an account manager here at CompuWorks. Today, we're going to be talking about Adobe Acrobat. But before we get into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to some of the works that we have coming up. So our upcoming training next month is going to be Teams Beyond the Basics. Very, very popular topic. If you were here for Teams 101, you're definitely going to want to continue on here. And as everybody uses Teams more often, you want to get those little nuances in. That's going to be the spot for you to do that and kind of master it. Next, after that one, we've got Microsoft Planner 101. I myself am interested in that. I'm not too familiar with it, so that'll be a good one to learn. And following that up, we've got SharePoint Beyond the Basics. This is kind of almost an extension of Teams, and that's going to be another one that you're going to want to attend, especially if you're in the Teams and Microsoft 365 sphere. So some great stuff coming up for sure. Now, as for our webinar today, Adobe Acrobat 101. As usual, anybody who has a question today, feel free to use the Q&A button right down at the bottom next to the chat there. And we're going to try and get to everybody's questions during this hour, but if we miss you, we'll certainly stay for another few minutes and answer any questions that went unanswered. So be sure to leave them in there and we'll answer them as we go. And lastly, we're going to follow up with everyone to get your feedback on the survey. And we also like ideas for future topics. We're always interested in expanding our knowledge base here that you can see actually on our website, all the recorded topics. And we appreciate the feedback and the input. And just quickly before I go and we kick this thing off, I'd just like to introduce you to CompuWorks founding partner, Alan Bauman. Hey, Alan.
Thanks, Jacob. Yeah, and we do really like to get your feedback on topics. We look at all of them, and we take your feedback pretty seriously. We've implemented webinars based on that. So please do that if you have some thoughts for us. Super happy to have a little bit of a different topic today. As I mentioned, it's sort of at the top of the call here. A lot of what we do is Microsoft, which makes a ton of sense because that's most of the world is really in that Microsoft, kind of mode. But every once in a while, I think it's nice to shake it up a little bit and do something different. And I think most of us are using Adobe Acrobat in some way. So excited to hear what Jolynn has to say about that. And I think Jacob sort of touched on it, but we do record all of these sessions. So probably at some point tomorrow, you'll have the ability to access this. And if you have colleagues that weren't able to attend and you think that they might benefit from this, all of this is on our website and our training library. Jolynn is also great about providing training materials. So you'll see, there's a workbook that Jolynn will probably be going through here today. That workbook will also be available, so you can really kind of recreate the exercises that she'll be no doubt sharing with you today. So without further ado, happy to introduce once again Jolynn Reen. Jolynn has become kind of our standard monthly trainer here. We've just found that she's so good at everything that I've yet to find something that you don't know, Jolynn. I don't know, maybe you're keeping it secret from me, but I don't know what you have an infinite capacity. I don't know what your hard drive storage is up there, but it's pretty impressive. Yeah, it really is. If you have not encountered Jolynn, you're in for a treat. She's been training for years and years and Microsoft applications and all types of software applications. She's a certified trainer, a master Microsoft instructor, and she's just terrific at everything from the basics to the more advanced topics. So welcome back, Jolynn. Happy to have you here again.
Sounds good. Thank you, Alan and Jacob. So welcome everybody to Adobe 101. I did open up my Adobe Acrobat, and just so you know, I am using the desktop version of the Pro. So it's Adobe Acrobat Pro version that I am using here today. Now, the reason I wanted to kind of start out with letting you know what app I'm using, what version I'm using, is because sometimes there's a little confusion on Adobe Reader versus the Adobe Acrobat. So Adobe Reader is something that is free that everybody can download. The Adobe Acrobat, which has more bells and whistles, several bells and whistles to it, that particular program, you do have to pay monthly subscriptions and things like that. But with that being said, there is a standard version and a professional version. And I just wanted to mention the difference between those very briefly here today, just so that you know. Both of the versions, whether you have Adobe Acrobat Standard or the professional version, both of them will allow you to create a brand new PDF or edit an existing PDF that was created someplace else. You'll be able to put some security onto the document. You can create a PDF for multiple document types. Therefore, you could take an Excel file, a Word document, a graphic file, whatever it is, and you could compile them together to become one PDF, which is pretty cool that you can do that. We also have the ability to create forms, and it takes us just beyond, way beyond, I should say, way beyond creating the form. We can take the form and also distribute to the people that we want to fill out the forms. We can have it available on a cloud, we can email it out to people, and we can collect the responses. The responses for these forms can then be compiled into a database program or an Excel file, those types of things, so that you can be analyzing the results of the answers to the questions within the form. So Adobe Acrobat is a very powerful program, and both versions allow you to do all of what I just said. There are just a couple of things related to not featured within the standard version, not very many, but there's some enhanced editing capabilities in the Pro version. The Pro version also allows you to do some extra things with scanned in documents. I don't know if anybody is still taking like a piece of paper and scanning it in. We do what is called the OCR, optical character recognition, where we can actually scan in a file to Adobe, and it can actually recognize if the items are text or if they're a graphical object or what exactly is on that piece of paper. There's some additional features. You can still do it with standard, but there's additional features related to that in the Pro version. So nothing that I'm going to be showing you today is missing if you just have standard. So everything we talk about today will be standard or professional. So of course, there's different versions of all of your different applications, whether you're using the Adobe Reader to just read and print a PDF file, if it gives you the capabilities of printing, that is. And that's one of the, I want to quick mention this because when it comes to how powerful this program is, if you just take a Word document and you save it as a PDF and share it with other people, there is no security on that file. By default, there is no security. If you use Adobe Acrobat, the security side of that is you can actually lock it down so that people can't print it. You could also lock it down so that people can't copy data out of that file. They can't edit the file. And copying is a big one, because especially if I place it out on my intranet from SharePoint or my website or anywhere, if I don't want people to be able to click and drag and select the data in my PDF, we have the ability through Adobe Acrobat to be able to lock a file down. Otherwise, if you just do a regular PDF through another program, you just do the file save as, there's no security whatsoever. But I will be talking about taking a Word document today and turning it into a PDF, because I think it's important to understand what happens when we do that. So first, let's get started with what exactly is a PDF. I've said that word several times already in our session. Well, it stands for Portable Document Format. This is our print ready. So we get a document, we can save it as a PDF, and anyone can open it. They have that free reader that they'd be able to open the file. We don't have to worry about them having a license for something, a license for a specific software program or anything. Anybody would be able to open the file. And it doesn't matter if they're using a Mac, they're using a Windows computer, whatever. Everybody can use it. Of course, we can even use it on our mobile devices. You don't have to have a desktop, laptop. It can be used on any type of a device because it is an app. Okay. So a PDF allows us to take any type of a file, put it in a PDF format so that we can read it and print it or whatever we are allowed to do. And that's the benefit of having this program, this Adobe Acrobat program, is compiling things together. So how do we do all of that? Well, right now I'm in Adobe Acrobat Pro, as I mentioned. Just to give you a quick rundown of what you're seeing on my screen right now, left-hand side is different navigation options, depending on if I want to go directly into files that are shared with me, files that I've scanned in, several different options for accessing existing files. So you're going to see a recent list. So is a recent list of all the files that I've been using here through Adobe Acrobat. You can of course see the icon on the left for the type of file it was. You can see the name, if it's shared or not, when was it last opened, and what is the size. And one of the things about these PDFs is the PDF file itself can get quite large, because technically we can incorporate things like video. We could do hyperlinks. We can have lots of different graphics. So the file size does get a little bit bigger. We won't worry so much about that today. Today, we want to learn how to create them and what they're really all about. But we'll probably do another session that will kind of take us beyond these basics, where we can get into a little bit more of the fundamentals of that power behind this program. But what I wanted to start with today is really kind of talking about the tools that are available with Adobe Acrobat. We don't get these tools when we work in a Reader program. Reader programs just allow you to see it. So I'm going to go to the top left. I have different tabs that will go across the top of my screen here, and I'm going to click on the top left where it says Tools. When I click on Tools, it takes me into a menu of multiple choices. And you can see there's different categories. So I have Create and Edit, I have Forms and Signatures. And by the way, that's one of the really cool things about this program that we can take in a further discussion, but we can actually not only create forms, but we can use Adobe Acrobat to send signatures out where people have to review the file and sign off on it, or we can send it out for signature. So if it's a contract, they can send it back with their signature. And we know that the signature is secure because Adobe has the security with your signature digitally signed built right into the program. So I just want to kind of mention a couple of other things that are great about this program outside of what we'll do today, but we can share and we can review specific files. We can protect, as I had mentioned earlier, we have redaction and all kinds of different things available to us. There's even some customization that we can be putting in, like different action wizards. It's kind of like building a little macro. Beyond our topic today, but I just wanted to kind of mention that we have these different categories for these wonderful tools built in. So I'm going to actually scroll back up towards the top. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a PDF. So if I go to this icon up at the top for Create PDF, it's going to ask me how I want to create the file. So I can do a single file where I can create either brand new, or I could select an existing file. I could do multiple files at once where I'm going to combine things together. I could do it from a scanner, from a web page. I could copy something and then it's held in the clipboard. That can also start a brand new PDF, whatever I'm holding in my clipboard. I also can start with just a blank page. And that's actually what I'm going to start with right now so that you can see what this does. So if I choose blank page and I click create, it's just like starting with a Word document. You'll have nothing. It is literally a blank piece of paper. So what you're going to see up at the top is I haven't given it a name yet. So it says untitled. You will always be able to see the home and the tools. And actually there's a menu here up at the top as well. But every time you open a new PDF or create a new one, you'll get a new tab going across the top. It's kind of like having multiple files open at once, which you are. And then on the left-hand side, you're going to see a menu bar. This menu bar would allow you to navigate by pages or to navigate by bookmarks or see attached files. But depending on what tool you are in, the toolbar at the top will change. So what you're seeing right now is really kind of the standard toolbar where you're going to get things like saving, you can upload it to a cloud, you can print it. But then you're going to be seeing tools related to navigating inside the PDF itself. And that will make more sense once I open an existing PDF. So I'm going to come back to that toolbar in a minute. Instead, I'm going to go to my right-hand side of the screen. The right-hand side of my screen is going to give me a toolbar of whatever tools I have customized by adding to my right-hand side. It's kind of like having a custom quick access toolbar in Microsoft apps where you can put whatever tools you want available on that right-hand side. So you can add and remove as needed, depending on what you use the most. So what you could see up at the top is I could create a PDF. So just to kind of go through a couple of these icons, I could combine files together to create, I could edit a PDF, etc. going down. And you could see that I get a screen tip as I hesitate on the icons until you get yourself familiar with what they really mean. So what I'm basically going to do is I'm going to come back and I'm just going to go into Edit PDF. Because Edit PDF is going to open up a toolbar across the top that is directly related to the tools for editing. So you can see on the left-hand side, it says Edit. So what happens is you go from one tool to the next, closing and opening the next tool, and the toolbar changes constantly, depending on what you need. So you're going to see that I can add text, I can add an image to my file, I can put in links, I can crop my pages, I could do headers and footers, put in a watermark, and then there's a more drop down where I could do backgrounds, Bates numbering even. I mean, that's the power behind this Adobe Acrobat Pro. But on the right-hand side, you're going to see a format pane. So once I have an object on my piece of paper, I can then use the tools on the right to do some editing. So if I want to change my font size, those types of things, I can do all of that by using the tools on the right. So just to show you, I could click add text. I could then put my mouse wherever I want that text to be added. Different than what you would see in a Word document where you start at the top left and you've got margins and things to worry about. So here I can basically click wherever I want my data to go. So here is the title. So I can actually have a title going across the top. It's placed inside a text box object, where, as you can see, very similar to other things, I could resize it because it's got sizing handles. I've got a rotating handle up at the top. And then on the right-hand side is where I could change my font size, or anything like that when I am selected on my object. So just so you can see, you've got these wonderful tools on the right-hand side that could be used. And I'm going to just add an image. So let me say that I want to add in an image. I'm going to navigate to my pictures, and I apologize. On the pictures that I have on this computer, I don't have a ton of, I'm trying to think of something that would be, I'll just grab a hibiscus or something. So let me just add in an image just so you could see that I could do so. So this is from my backyard. So as you can see, we've got sizing handles. I can move it around. I've got my moving handle. So when I'm inserting these objects into my document, I'm creating the whole thing on my own. I have to add a text object, type all my text in, add in images, add in links, whatever it is that I need. So if I wanted to add a link to this image, I could click on link and then say add or edit web link or document link. So I can have a web link to whatever type of a document it is that I want. I could go to a web page down in the bottom left here. I can go to a file. I'll say I want to go to a file. I'm going to click next. And then let's say that I just want to be going into a Outlook file, just so you could see that I could do that in this object, in this placeholder. So compiling this way, kind of starting from scratch, may not be the best thing to do, but it's possible. Just so you know, it's possible. And the best part is you can add in as many pages as you need. We manage pages by going to the left-hand side in the navigation area. The very top icon, it looks like two pieces of paper. If I click on that, it's going to expand the menu out. And as you can see, it's got its own little toolbar, and it shows you your piece of paper, your actual page one. But if I wanted to add new pages, I can go to the menu at the top and I can insert pages, and the pages can actually be from a different document, or I could do a blank one. You can see I can even add a cover page. So if I were creating a flyer or a handout and I wanted a different cover page to the rest of the pages, I can actually do that. You can see there's quite a few choices when it comes to working with these pages. So one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm just going to say insert pages, and I'm not going to do another blank one. I'm going to say that I actually want to bring in a file that I already had started. So I'm going to click from file, and I'm going to say I want to bring in this Outlook Level 2 PDF file. I'm going to click open. So I can actually tell the computer, where do I want this page to be placed? Is it going to be after my current page, after my first page, after my last page, or after a specific page number? I'm going to say after my first page. So this picture and my title will stay as the first page. All I did was click OK, and it automatically now has inserted all of the pages related to that specific PDF. And you can see on this left-hand side, I can be navigating from pages to see whatever data I need to see within this PDF file. So we can start with a blank, insert existing files, and it doesn't matter what type of file it is. I could have inserted a Word document, a PDF, an image file, an Excel file, whatever it is that you need. Now, we do also have the ability to combine. To create right away, we can also combine files together. So I could have done it from the tool called Combine, where I would just say, I want to combine all these files together, and then I can always add more, just how I did right now. Can always keep adding to it. So I could come back and say, at the end, I want to add in an Excel file. So I could always go back to the top, say, insert pages from file. I can choose whatever type of file it is that I want. Maybe this time I want to bring in an Excel file, and I can once again choose where I want that file to be placed within our current files. So now I have this Excel file that is being brought in, and that file will go to the end because that's where I told it to go. Okay, so it's pretty cool how we can take all these different file types and create them into one PDF file together. So I just did a blank file from Adobe. I did I did an existing PDF. Then I just did an Excel file. And as you can see, my Excel file, look at all these different pages. Because it wasn't print ready, it brought it in exactly how it looked. So, and it wasn't print ready. So I got all these separate pages with just a little data on there. So it is important, if you're going to be using especially Excel files, make sure the files are print ready before you create the PDF. Okay. A lot of times people create their PDFs directly within the application itself, because we could do a save as from Excel or Microsoft Word. And in a moment, I'll show you both of those. But before I do that, I'm actually going to save this. Now, just like any other program, Microsoft or other, you do have a save icon. So, or Control S is your keyboard shortcut. I'm going to click save up at the top left, or I could even go up to the file menu and I could do a save from there. So lots of different ways to kind of do the same things depending on what it is that you want. So let me go back to my file here. So like I said, I could click save, but I could go to save as, choose save, or I could save it as another type of file as well. But I'll just do a regular save for right now. And I'll save that. I'm going to choose a different folder to keep it at. I'll just put it on my desktop for right now, and I'll call it combined data. So now I have this saved PDF file. So whether I had an existing PDF or I have one that I created by combining multiple files together, I can always edit these, because remember I have that edit tool. So here up at the top, I could come back and I could add in existing information onto any page. So if I go back to where this Excel file was inserted, if I wanted to add data to this page, I just go up to my edit tools. And if I want to add in text, I click where I want that text to go, and I can add text anywhere. Oh, type. I'll use the word type instead. So and by the way, I was using a different font. I had switched to a different font a little while ago. So I do have a different font in my font group here. But I could, of course, like I said earlier, I could go back and change the formatting of this. Okay, so it's pretty cool how all of this compiles together, how we can work in all these different aspects. So we get our formatting options over on the right-hand side. We get our text tool and our most common things like adding an image. But if I did want to add watermarks that sit behind and things like that, I most certainly could. We'll save that kind of thing for another day, but just so you know, you could. Also, you get your header and footer options available, because if your file didn't already have headers and footers, you could be inserting headers and footers where needed. Okay. So creating a PDF can be done a lot of different ways. It can be done here directly inside Adobe if you want to. But let's say that I actually have an existing file that I want to turn into a PDF. So let's say that I have an Excel file. So I'm going to go ahead and open up I'm going to open one of my existing Excel files. So let me kind of move Excel over here for you so you can kind of see what it is that I'm doing. And I'm going to come into this project plan. This is a company template. It's just a regular Excel spreadsheet that has different sheet tabs down the bottom. So as you can see, I have quite a few different sheet tabs. When I look at all these different sheet tabs here in Excel, the thing about this is you want your, whatever you're going to create the PDF from, whichever sheets you're going to create your PDF from, make sure they are print ready. Because if I'm on a sheet and I go to File, Print, and I'm looking at this and it's got 2 pages, it really should only be 1 page. It's not ready to be turned into a PDF. And that's really something that I stress with people, is because everything needs to, if you're going to share anything with anybody else, it needs to be print ready. So if you're ever going to share a PDF file with somebody from a different application, always get your print set up first. So if I need to change my orientation to landscaped, I need a different paper size, I want to do scaling, I want to do custom margins, whatever it is that you need to do, make sure that it is print ready first, because whatever it looks like when you do your preview, that's exactly what it's going to look like in Adobe. When you open it up in a PDF, that's how it's going to look. And it's going to be very difficult Not impossible, but it will be very difficult to fix it once it's in Adobe. You're better off doing it in your native application instead, the original program. So I'm going to say that this sheet is ready to go for me to save as a PDF. So what I can do then is I can actually go to my save, and I could tell the computer I want it to actually be saved as a PDF. So on the top right, I'm going to click on the drop down where it says Excel workbook. From here, I'm actually going to go into PDF. And from here, I could change the name. I could also change my physical location of where I want to save it to. But the one thing about doing this, when you save a PDF, do you know what you're actually saving? You may not. So let's take a look. At the top right, underneath the name and the fact that I chose the PDF file, I'm going to click where it says More Options. When I click on More Options, it's going to take me to my Save As window. From my Save As window, down at the bottom, you can see I have additional tools that I didn't have if I were saving it as a workbook. So you can see it has optimized for standard printing, and it has minimized size. So if I knew that this was a very large file size, I could actually tell the computer to minimize the size. But I can also choose to open the file after I publish it. So publish and save are the same things. Publish and save are the same things. But before I even click the word save, I'm going to click on the options button. When you click on the options button, what this is actually going to do is ask you which pages did you actually want to save. So if you had 10 pages to this one sheet, it's going to ask you if you want all 10 pages included. And what did you really want to publish? Did you want to publish just your active sheet? Or did you want to do the entire workbook? Now, remember, I had quite a few sheets, and I didn't check the print setup on all of those sheets. Therefore, I would need to do that if I wanted the entire workbook to physically be saved with my PDF. Or I could do selection. So back in my Excel workbook, before I came into saving, I could have selected multiple sheets. So if I wanted, 4 out of my 12 sheets to be saved with this PDF, I could have selected them prior to coming in. And then I could tell the computer I want selection. And just so you know, you can include your document properties. So every time that you create a file, it has properties to it. And you could personalize some of the properties. It knows who created the file. When was it last modified? When was it last printed? You can be putting in a title. You can be putting in a subtitle, tag, keywords, all kinds of different things can be added. I could even add my phone number to the properties and then have that be saved as part of the PDF. But if you do not want those properties included, you're going to want to uncheck this. So just so you could see, you have more than what you might have thought when it comes to saving a PDF. I'm going to keep all the defaults, and I'm going to click OK. Then in my save window, I'm going to click save. So basically, I took one sheet and I said I wanted to save it as a PDF file. So what that just did then was saved it to my, basically I saved it to my desktop. So I'm going to go back to Adobe and I'm going to reopen it, that file. Now it did open, but just so you know, it actually opened because I have mine opening by default in my Reader program. And so here's the file. It did open, but it opened it in my Reader program, and I don't want it in my Reader right now. So I'm going to close it, and then I'm just going to open from here. I'm just going to go ahead and open. So I'm going to go to my file menu. And from here, I could open, I could create just like you normally would see with everything. I'm just going to say open. Now, of course, I could do this for my File Explorer. I could do this from SharePoint Document Library, from Microsoft Teams. There's a lot of different places I could be opening this file from, but I can do it right from here. So I'm going to go ahead and go back into my desktop again. And I have this file. I think I called it combined data, and I'm going to click open. And basically it's going to open up that file that I had just saved. Jacob, did somebody have a question or a comment?
They did, yeah. So Trisha asked, when inserting an Excel file into a PDF, can you insert a print-ready landscape file into a portrait layout PDF, or should the orientation be kept the same in all files?
Nope, it can be any layout. And that's actually a great question, because I could have some files, and as you can see on mine right now on the left-hand side, my page preview, some of mine are portrait, some are landscaped. So you can have a mix of both, which is another reason it's great to use Adobe Acrobat, because it can combine those together and it doesn't matter which one is which. But by the way, just so you know, you can actually do that with other programs as well, like Microsoft Word. You could be doing that too. Give me just 1 second. So sorry about that. So anyway, that was a perfect question, because it's one of the benefits of using this program. It's fantastic that we can do that. So let me go ahead, and I've got that combined data, which I can see that this is the file that I actually did save. It's not the file that I just did a save as to, because I forgot the name of it. So let me just jump back here real quick, and I'll go back to my file. I'll go back to my open. By the way, it's going to be in my recent as well. And that particular file, well, I forgot what the name of that file was. And I thought I saved it to my desktop. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I can open up any of my PDF files and go back and make changes to those files. Okay, so I'm going to just come back into this file. Any PDF, as I said, you can add additional files to, but did you know that you can actually delete files as well? So if we don't want I meant page. So if I have 31 pages right now, because I got these extra pages when I brought in Excel, or I got extra pages when I opened up my other PDF or a Word document, if I don't want those pages, I don't have to keep them. Any pages can be deleted. So if I have this page that has this data going across, and that's all it is, one of the easiest ways to do it is right click. When you right click on any of the pages from your navigation pane here, I can delete pages. I can replace pages with a different page. I can extract the pages and put them someplace else. I can cut, I can copy, all kinds of really cool tools. But I'm going to click delete pages. So I'm going to say that the page or pages that I have selected is what I want to delete. So I'm going to delete the one I'm selected on, page 30. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to confirm that, yes, I really do want to delete it, and that page is gone. So if for some reason additional things get added and you change your mind later and say you don't want those, you can always get rid of them. It's not like they have to stay with the file, which is fantastic. That's really a very, very cool part of this whole program. So let me take you just a little bit further with this though, because so far we've talked about we can create a PDF directly here in Adobe Acrobat. We also have the capability of taking an existing document and adding PDF pages to it from other documents. So basically we can keep combining. But from this tools menu, this is part of what I just absolutely love about this program. It's so easy to use. So let's say that I change my mind and I want this page 29 to actually go towards the top of this document. I can, as you can see, when I put my hand, I'm putting my mouse, I've got the hand shape with my mouse right now. I can actually take my hand, and as you can see, I'm kind of zooming right now. If you kind of watch my hand here, watch my piece of paper here. I'm zooming my piece of paper, depending on what my zoom level is. So let me show you what I mean by this. So up at the very top menu, I can navigate pages by using my page up and down. Right now I've got my hand selected. So when I'm over here, I've got my hand. But if I zoom in and out by using my plus and my minus sign, just so you can kind of see, when I actually want to zoom in on a specific section, I can zoom in on a section by using my hand. So I can use my hand to go up and down or left and right if I can't see the whole sides of it. So it allows you to pan your piece of paper. So if I zoom in real close and I can't see it all, I can actually use my hand to go back and forth and pan. So it's kind of cool how all that flows together. So zooming up at the top. Once you are zoomed, you can do different panning if you need to. We can actually do it from the navigation pane or right on your piece of paper itself. Now, of course, there's other options related to your views going across the top as well. But let's talk about, I have this data here, and I'm going to go back into editing. When I clicked on the word edit from the edit PDF bar up at the top, you can see it selected every one of my objects. The thing about doing a PDF from an existing document is it does OCR. So it takes this Excel file or a Word document or a PowerPoint or an image file, whatever it is, and it scans through it and it tries to recognize as much as it possibly can on saying, this is text. Wherever it's a hard return, it automatically creates a separate text box for it. Sometimes you could end up with garbage on your piece of paper, on your PDF page. And let me tell you when you might end up with garbage. Let's say that you scanned in a piece of paper that was a photocopy that had been photocopied and photocopied. Sometimes you get marks on there. And if you bring that into Adobe, Adobe's going to recognize those marks and it's going to think it's a graphical object, and usually you can select it and just delete it. So it's kind of like helping you to clean things up. But sometimes it may not recognize your text correctly. So if you had been using something like, I've had it happen with word art. If I had kind of curvy text and it was word art, I've brought it into Adobe and it recognized it as being separate letters, not being an object together. So sometimes it doesn't recognize everything perfectly, but boy, I got to tell you, it's pretty good. It is really good. But just so you can see, I can modify any of these existing objects. So if I have this text box object, I select it, I can then use my move handle and click and drag and move the data wherever I want it to go. So anything can be selected. I can either click and drag and move it, or I can select it and press my delete key and delete it out. So just because it was in the original Excel file, it doesn't mean I have to keep it here in Adobe. It through the PDF file. I can actually delete it. So it's pretty great how this program is so smart that when we save something as a PDF, it's going to recognize the characters as being actual text, graphical objects, etc., etc. Sometimes it's not perfect, but most of the time it is pretty accurate. So this tells us we have to be a little careful sometimes on how we create the original document so that when it comes in as a PDF, it will be editable. Editable? Yeah, that is a word, I think. It's kind of a tough word to say sometimes, but as you can see, it's very easy to modify the data. So you can see all of these objects have the dotted border going around them, which means it's putting the border around the outside edge of the paragraphs, where it's seeing all these different paragraphs of data. So it's pretty cool. I really like that. But let me take this a little bit further, because not only can we organize our pages any way that we want them, we can bring in any type of documents. We can have portrait versus landscaped pages. And by the way, all of this will be in the handout that will be available to you. So when we talk about all this, it will be available for you. We can manage these pages different ways. So let me briefly show you how to manage these pages, because what if something came in and I scanned it in and I scanned it in the wrong way, which I hate to say, I do that all the time. I want it to be flipped a different way. We actually have the ability to rotate. So if it came in landscape, but I really wanted it to be portrait, it's going the wrong direction. Right at the top of this page, thumbnails. Thumbnail, by the way, just means little image on the left-hand side. It's a kind of like a little image of the page. You can see that I have different tools going across the top. And from that drop-down menu, look at all these different tools that I mentioned that we have. So one of them is going to be rotating pages. So I'm on the very last page. I'm going to click rotate pages, and I can actually tell it how I want to rotate it. So up at the top, I could give it the direction. I could tell it which pages or all pages that I want to rotate. I could say rotate even or odd pages, that kind of a thing. I'm going to go ahead and just click OK. I told it to rotate it this way. So now it's portrait instead of landscaped. So just so you know, if it doesn't come in perfect because we didn't know at the time, doesn't matter. We could fix it. Anything can be managed here once you get it into Adobe Acrobat. And we're barely touching the surface on these tools that we can use. It's amazing what Adobe Acrobat can do. Now, before I get too much further, I want to go through a couple of other things real quick with you. When we talked about these tools on the left-hand side, right-hand side of the screen, if you don't see the tool that you need, or you're not quite sure, go to the top left, click on that icon at the top left again for tools, and you'll go back into the tools menu. So let's say that I wasn't quite sure on the right-hand side of the screen. I come in here and it's like, oh yeah, I want to go into organizing my pages. If I click on organize pages, this is going to show me, it's kind of like in PowerPoint where we have slide sorter view. That's similar to this, where we can see every page as the thumbnail images. What's great about this view is it's very easy to rearrange your pages. So like if I want to take page 29 and I either want to rotate it, delete it, or move it, I could do all of that here. So I'm going to take page 29 and I'm just going to start clicking and dragging it up. So I'm going to say that I wanted to go after page 1. I drug it straight up, I released my mouse, and now it became page 2. So it's very easy in this view for really kind of organizing these pages that we can move things around. And if you look at the tools going across the top, I could still insert new pages. I could do cover pages. I could select a page and replace it with another page. I could even take a page and split it into 2 or more pages. So we could select a page and we could say split, and we could split a page into multiples. So how many files do I want? How many pages did I want? I could choose my output options and whatnot. It's unbelievable what your choices are. So when you come into these different tools, my recommendation to get yourself familiar with all of these tools is open up the tool, look at the top of your window, because you only get one tool at a time. So it helps you to get to know that one tool. So what's available here in organizing? You can select multiple files at one time by using your Shift key or your Control key. So if I want to select non-continuous files or pages, I should say, I use my Control key. I click on one, hold my Control key down, click on the others, then I can manage them all at one time. Or I could click on a page, hold my Shift key down, click on the last page, and it will select everything in between. So when you have a document that has a lot of pages and you want to rotate them all, you want to delete them all, you want to move them all, you want to select more than one at a time. Okay, we could do all of that right here. So let's say that I'm done organizing my pages right now. I'm going to go to my organize page tools at the top. On the right-hand side of the toolbar, I'm going to click the close button. That brings me back into just my regular menu at the top. So I just have my views and things like that at the top. I don't have any other tools open. But of course, if I wanted to open other tools, I could simply go to the right-hand side. Now, with all that being said, we have the ability, like I said, to create a PDF multiple ways. I'm actually going to take you into a Word document. So let me open up this Word document. And just so you could see, this Word document has a table of contents. So this happens to be a document that is 12 pages long, has a built-in table of contents directly through, just so you know, through the resources tab, table of contents. It isn't something that I manually created, it's interactive. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up is because when you're in Microsoft Word and you have a table of contents, it's being fed by the styles. Heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. That's what it does by default. And they are a hyperlink. So when I'm hesitating on these different, like chapter 1, etc., you can see from my screen, it says control click to follow. So if I hold down my control key and click, it's going to physically navigate me to whatever I was selecting or I was hesitating on, just so you can see that I could do that. Well, I'm just going to jump back up to the top here again and show you that because of the fact that this has a table of contents, it can become what are referred to as bookmarks if I save it as a PDF. So not only will I get the hyperlinks from the table of contents, but all of those styles. So just so you can see on my left-hand side here, I've got my navigation pane open. Here in Microsoft Word, we can use the navigation to navigate throughout the Word document. So each of these styles is building that table of contents. And from the Home tab, you can see that when I'm on this chapter 3, I'm in this paragraph here, it is a heading 1 style. If I go to data validation, this is a heading 2 style, and I can see that from here. Now, the reason I'm pointing that out is because I'm going to save this as a PDF. And I want all of these on this left-hand side of this navigation pane to become bookmarks so that when I'm in my PDF and I share this with someone else, they're going to be able to use a navigation pane just like here in Word to navigate throughout the document. So it's pretty cool how this is all going to work together. So let me do the file save as, just like I did with Excel. I'm going to do file save as. On the top right, I'm going to change it from being a Word doc. I'm going to click on that drop down and I'm going to choose PDF. Now, of course, I could give it a different name. I am going to give it a different location. So I'm going to click on the location up at the top. It's going to take me into my save as, which I think is what I did wrong last time. But I'm going to click on desktop. So I'm saving this on the desktop. Notice I get the same options down here below. So what I'm going to do is click on options, just like I did with Excel, because I'm going to get different choices because I'm in a Word document. So from here, I could choose which pages I wanted to save as the PDF. And then where it says include non-printing information, this is not checked by default. What we want to do is click create bookmarks using headings. Create bookmarks using headings. Then I'm going to click OK. Then I'm going to click save. And then it's going to save this as a PDF. And I told it to open it as soon as it was done saving it. So here's that Excel part 3. I'm going to zoom down on this because you can see it's pretty large. So here's all of my pages. If I look at my pages on the left-hand side, my page navigation, I've got all these separate pages. Oop, there's that 2 pages of table of contents. Notice my mouse is a hyperlink. Let me zoom in on that just a little bit so you can see. I could actually use that to navigate to that chapter 1. But the problem with that is I no longer have that navigation right now because of the fact that that was just from that table of contents. So when I told it to save those headings as bookmarks, on the left-hand side, the second icon down is bookmarks. So what it did was it saved the styles for us to be able to navigate this as bookmarks. So if I want to go to chapter 5, forecasting data, I click on it and automatically navigates me there. But I'm going to go back to bookmarks here again, and I can expand out the chapter to see the subheadings or even the headings under there. So if I want to drill into chapter 5 to directly get to scenarios, which was a heading 3, I can do that. So I have quick, easy navigation throughout my document because of starting from Microsoft Word, I created a table of contents and I used those headings, those styles. So if you haven't attended any of the Excel classes, the Microsoft Word sessions that CompuWorks offers, highly recommend you attend those so that this part will make a lot more sense to you when we talk about these features with styles and table of contents and things like that. But the best part about all this is, what if I want to make a change to this? All I have to do is open my edit tools, because what if I decided on page 1, which I can use my control home, just like I do in any other program, I get the same keyboard shortcuts. I just did control home and it jumped me back up to page 1. Control end will take me to my last page. So just so you know, we have universal shortcuts. So back up to my first page. What if I want to modify this page? I don't want this logo. I need to change this text. I can do so. I don't have to go back to the Word document, then resave it. I could actually just do it here. All I have to do is open up that tool for edit PDF again. Then all my objects are selected. I could go to this image down at the bottom. I could delete it. If I had a different object, an image that I wanted to bring in, I go to the menu at the top and I do add image, and I could bring that new image in. Or I could go and create, change the text itself. So customize for, I could get rid of what that says, and I could put in ABC Company. So I can go back and still modify it. I don't have to go back to Word and then, because what if I made a whole bunch of changes to this PDF? It's not changed back in my Word document. So once I make changes to it here in this PDF, I'm going to save the changes so it's part of the PDF, but it's not changing my original Word document. It's just changing this. So highly recommend this program for taking multiple file types, combining them together to become one PDF. Because if I just do an Excel workbook, I just do Microsoft Word and save those separately as PDFs, they're not together. But here in this program, I can combine those pages together with no problems at all. We could delete pages, we can copy and paste, we can rearrange our pages, we could rotate our pages, whatever it is that you need to do, Adobe Acrobat allows you to do it. So today was really more of an introduction to some of the more common tools that get used, different ways of creating the PDF, whether you want to do it from scratch or, from an existing document or an existing PDF, you can scan a file in. Then you can make edit changes, change the data, delete the data, add new data, add new images, whatever it is that you need to make sure that this file is going to work how you want that file to be. Jacob, did we have another question come through?
We did. And I was actually just going to look it up really quick, but if you know it offhand, do you know what the latest version of Adobe Acrobat Pro is?
I can actually show you. So if I go into help and I go into, I think it's manage my account, will tell me. I think I'm using the DC version. Just like 365 with Microsoft. Yes, I have the Pro DC. I have the Adobe Acrobat Pro DC.
Okay. So that is only available by subscription.
Correct. Correct. Okay. And the price is going up. I've heard this next when you renew again, because you can buy it for a year, you can buy it for a month. But if people aren't quite sure, you can download a trial. Download the trial, check it out. If you decide that you want to keep the subscription, of course, they will start billing you if you don't cancel it within your time frame. So it is something that you can do a trial version of. Okay. But mine is automatically updated. So I have the auto updates happening on mine. So any changes, it's basically been DC for quite a few years. I remember doing training on DC back probably 6 years ago in Seattle. Yeah. So it's been around this version, like 365. We just keep updating it now. So DC is the last letters with it. We used to have 9, 10, that kind of thing. Okay. Were there any other questions from anybody today?
So I have one, Jolene.
Yes.
And before I do that, I always find applications that are just jumping out at me after these sessions. I'm about to send an email out after this session, which is going to have probably a dozen attachments. And, it's a few Word files, a few Excel files, a couple PDFs. And I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nicer if I just sent one nice, neat, all wrapped up in a bow PDF of all of these? So
Correct.
you always
It
get
would.
me, always get me thinking.
And one of the things to think about with that, Alan, is when you go to do that, make sure that when you do your file save as, reduce your file size. So depending on, what you're going to use it for, if you're going to use it for printing, you may not want to reduce the file size. And by the way, just a side note on that, you can actually create this where you have the actual standard colors and things so that the printer can tell you you need to set it up this way. So it's got some great tools in the background that you can actually set it up for depending on the color printing that you're going to have it do.
Mhm.
I kind of forget all that terminology that they use, but it has all of that built in. Okay.
So,
Otherwise, reduce the size.
yep. So question for you. You touched on it just briefly, and I know it's a little beyond the scope of this session, but I'm interested in the signature feature. I know we use DocuSign, and I think a lot of our clients use DocuSign. And I'm wondering if Adobe, can kind of replace that, or are there function, I don't know how much you know about DocuSign, but are there things that
Yes.
DocuSign might do that you couldn't really do in Adobe, or would you be able to use Adobe instead?
So even for just something very quick, if I have a document like this and I'm going to email it to somebody and I want them to sign off on it, I don't even have to have my editing tools or anything open. I can simply just go to the tool up at the top for signature. So I can go to this document and I can insert my signature. So if somebody sends me a contract, this is the signature that I created, or I could create a different signature because I could have multiples. It could really be my handwriting. So,
Mhm.
so I have it digitally signed. So I can say, I want to take my signature and this is where I want to place it. So I just placed my signature right here. So I signed it. But if you have a file that you want to send for others to sign, under this tools, you have these forms and signatures category here, where if you have a form, you could have them fill the form out and then sign it. You can also see you can request e-signatures from others, where it's going to go through a workflow. It's going to send it to the first email address. They'll sign it. Then it automatically gets sent to the next email address. Then when it's all done, it comes back to you. So you have a lot of capabilities when it comes to signatures. So
Mhm.
fill and sign is probably the most common, the fill and sign options that I was just using. I just used it from the top, but it automatically opened the tool called fill and sign, where you can see I can sign it myself, or I could request e-signatures. So if I do the request e-signatures, I'm going to put in who do I need to sign this. So I'm going to add in all their email addresses, etc., and I'm going to specify where to sign. So just so you could see, it walks you through, and it even shows you how it works.
Mhm.
So it makes it pretty easy.
Sounds just like DocuSign to me.
Yes,
That's great.
exactly.
Really
Can I
interesting.
mention one other thing? So if anybody in the audience today is using Microsoft Teams, you can actually have Adobe as once you have your license, you can have Adobe in Teams. So just to show you, let me open up Teams here real quick. And I should have done this prior to the class, but I didn't think about it. I just removed mine. But if I go back into my apps, I could add in Adobe from here. So let me just quick show you. If I come into my search, I'm going to say I want Adobe. I'm going to add Adobe. So I'm going to open Adobe. So now I can have, and I could pin it to the left-hand side here in Microsoft Teams. So I have to sign in, so you have to have your license for it. But then you can actually use and see your Adobe right from here. I'm not going to sign in right now, but just so you know, you could do that. So it works in conjunction with your Microsoft apps as well. Pretty cool.
Neat. All right, another great session, Jolyn. Thank you so much for that. I don't think we have any more
Absolutely.
questions that I see. So I think we're ready to wrap this up. As usual, if anybody has any questions, in the next few days and you want to reach out, you know how to get in touch with us. We're happy to answer your questions. And Jacob talked a little bit about the sessions coming up. These are open for registration now, so feel free to sign up for any or all of them. And as we've said in the past, we don't promote these webinars to anybody beyond our clients, but your friends are our friends. So if you know people, colleagues, friends, family that you think would benefit from this, please invite them. We're happy to have them attend. Some of the sessions that you're going to see coming up, we've actually done before. So Teams Beyond the Basics, I think we did that about probably close to 2 years ago now, at the start of the pandemic, when everybody was making the mad dash into Teams and wondering what the heck it was. And we had, a couple hundred people in the webinar. But we're going to start revisiting some of this stuff because I think it is relevant, and so give people another opportunity to have a live webinar and ask questions and that sort of thing. But the upcoming sessions will be interesting. With all the talk of AI, that's one of the things that's been on my mind. Do we need to be doing a session on something, Chat GPT or some AI related thing, maybe
I
over
think
the
so.
summer? Yeah. So I think we may think about that. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Seems like everybody's really interested all of a sudden in AI. But yeah, I think that's all we have for you today. Thanks again, Jolynn and Jacob, for being here today, and thank you to all of you for attending. I hope you got something out of this. I know I sure did. So we'll see you here next time.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.